Some races make legends.
Max Verstappen wins a Formula One Grand Prix!
And some races become legendary.
Is it going to be a first World Championship for Verstappen? Is it going to be an 8th World Championship for Lewis Hamilton?
Today we're diving into the weekends where F1 completely lost the plot and created masterpieces out of pure disaster. These are the most chaotic races of all time. Do you remember the first time you ever skated on ice? I absolutely ate. The kids next to us got scouted for an Olympic team, and Mr. Strulovich, he achieved the unthinkable. Yep, that was really him. We shouldn't laugh, but think about it. The colder it gets, the better Stroll becomes. If that weird ability had a god mode, Turkey 2020 was it. Look, this wasn't your regular race weekend. Unless you were still in nappies, you remember how that year tore the calendar apart. Races disappearing, others resurrecting out of nowhere. Everyone thought, hey, problem solved, yet almost nobody bothered checking the actual conditions of those circuits. And from the very first laps on Friday, something already felt off.
We've got the hardest one here. Look at Charles Leclerc struggling. The white sidewall time we've got here. Carlos Sainz struggling there as well on the damp air. Right now, Crofty, as you mentioned, it's about half that, 18 degrees in fact. And that's why it is literally like driving on ice. Got the bollards stuck underneath.
A completely repaved track paired with freezing 12 degrees temperatures. Yeah, those tyres weren't heating up, like not in this lifetime anyway. The moment qualifying began, chaos was guaranteed.
Trying to keep it in a straight line down the straight, trying to stop it in time, spinning and into the gravel.
I'm stuck. I'm stuck. I'm stuck.
Through all the madness, Verstappen rose above everyone. The reference point, the only driver who actually understood the track, until Q3.
Stroll crosses the line, and he does go pole! 1:47.7, Lance Stroll is on pole for the first time in his career!
The Canadian delivered a lap that tasted like a milkshake of Alonso's craziest rain saves, blended with Senna's lap of the gods. Now before you start with the whole, Joe, but Daddy bought the whole stopwatch too. Shut it. My guy had a mega race finishing. Shit. That was as surprising as when I discovered Car Vertical and the way it completely changes how you buy used cars. Car Vertical is a vehicle history check service that works in over 25 countries. They pull data from more than 900 sources worldwide and turn it into a simple, easy-to-read report. All you need is the car's VIN number. With a Car Vertical report, you can see if the car's ever been in an accident, if the mileage adds up, whether it's ever been stolen, and even what equipment it originally came with. Sometimes you'll even get photos of the car after an accident. Here's an example. This car looks perfect now, but the report shows past damage, mileage issues, and accident photos. Stuff you'd never catch just by looking at it yourself. And the best part, if your report comes back clean with no findings, Car Vertical automatically refunds your credits. So, unlike with Stroll, there's zero risk. If you're thinking about buying a used car, make sure you know exactly what you're getting. Use my code DailyFuelUp to get 20% off your Car Vertical report. The link's in the description and pinned comment, and the discount is applied automatically. Let's get back to the video. Even so, he wasn't the only one suffering. At the start, Ocon turned into a fidget spinner, Bottas tried to avoid him and failed spectacularly, while Max blew his launch.
Whoa, it's almost like he's missed a gear.
He's in first gear.
And later spun out while hunting Checo. It only spiraled from there. Bottas spun again. Stroll's pit crew somehow decided a second stop was a good idea.
Going to Inter Lance. We're going to put another set of Inters on. What do you want with their...
Why are we doing that? Why?
So, new set of intermediate tyres go on for Lance Stroll. Good pit stop from the Racing Point crew 3.
Sending him straight into a brawl with the midfield. Thanks to that call, Hamilton and Checo both stayed out, setting up a duel, one that got abruptly cut short by Latifi giving Grosjean the full Nutella treatment.
There's no one after Grosjean. Good cap.
Oh, What the I couldn't see Grosjean. The mirrors are
Then, because the universe has a sense of humor, Bottas spun again. Ricciardo succumbed to Norris's pressure. Kimi and Albon produced something resembling artistic choreography.
Lead hasn't looked like getting it back again, as there's a spin of the Alfa Romeo, and there's a spin for Alex Albon as well.
Vettel snatched a podium at the very last second, and in the end, Hamilton sealed his 7th world title, matching Michael.
Lewis Hamilton wins the Turkish Grand Prix and is a 7-time champion of the world!
Watching it again still gives me goosebumps, because this was one of those races that turned me from a casual viewer into a full-blown addict. The kind of person who ends up digging for old footage at like 3 AM. And if you happen to be the same, which, let's be honest, you probably are, you should definitely hit subscribe before the algorithm decides you're a normal person. Like this guy. You might look at him and think, is that a university professor or maybe some sugar daddy? First of all, if that's what you thought, you're disgusting. And second, that's Herman Tilke, the engineer behind more than half of the circuits you've ever watched on TV. And in June 2014, he got handed one of the boldest challenges in modern F1. Design a full-on street circuit right through the heart of an ancient city. What he found was a maze of medieval walls, tight alleys, and a coastline that begged for speed and carnage.
But he's going to try and dive down the inside. They have crashed. They've gone into each other.
But all of that, those were just warm-ups, small inconveniences, baby tier Baku. Because there was one weekend where the circuit finally revealed what it really wanted to be. 2017.
On the grid, and contact there. Kimi Räikkönen has had contact with one of the Red Bulls, I think it is.
I thought it was a Mercedes.
One single lap was enough to spoil the rest of the movie. On lap 12, Verstappen's engine failed and Kvyat's stranded Toro Rosso brought out the first safety car. Racing resumed briefly, yet more debris triggered another one. This time the SC ran even slower to allow the track to be properly cleared. Hamilton complained about it, and that's when it happened.
Lewis is backing up the pack a little bit. Oh, he went into him.
Ray, he brake tested me. What the going on?
Vettel literally just came alongside me and turned in and hit me.
Once the action restarted, Ocon and Perez collided at turn 2, scattering even more debris that punctured Raikkonen's tyre. A third safety car followed, and with the track now a scrapyard, race control threw a red flag that would reshuffle the order, though not for long.
Down the inside goes Daniel Ricciardo. What a move from the Australian. He's picked up a couple of places in one corner. Hamilton from Vettel, from Daniel Ricciardo.
Danny kept hunting the leaders until fate, loud as always, stepped in on lap 29. Hamilton's headrest came loose, forcing a sudden stop, and on the same damn lap, Vettel got a 10-second stop and go for his earlier hit on the Brit. With all this insanity, Ricciardo inherited the lead. Bottas, who remember had been a lap down, climbed to second. And Stroll, I repeat, Stroll managed to take a podium. I have nothing else to say.
Behind him, Lance Stroll. Has he been overtaken by Valtteri Bottas? Just on the line, Bottas gets second. A podium for Lance Stroll.
Have you ever seen this picture? This is not AI-generated shit. This actually happened. How? Glad you ask. See, back in the early 2000s, teams were split between Michelin and Bridgestone. Ferrari were absolutely flying on the Japanese rubber. Meanwhile, Michelin... Those two crashes I just showed you, they happened in the same race for the same reason. A puncture. Naturally, that created a massive distrust towards the chubby tyre man until something changed. A new rule came into play. Before you could do 2, 3, 4 pit stops, whatever you wanted. Now,
don't do that.
Let me emphasize this so you understand how insane it was. You could not stop unless it rained or you had a puncture. And if you did have a puncture, you could only change that one tire. What the hell kind of sense does this even make? In the mess from that year before, all eyes were on the Brickyard, on its huge banked final corner to see whether the tires would hold up this time. Spoiler, they didn't. Again, the lateral load was simply too much for the tyre, and that's when fear finally hit. Michelin asked to bring safer tyres. Denied. Teams asked to modify the track with a temporary chicane. Denied again. Answer always was, show must go on. But how? An hour before the start, not even the journalist trackside knew what was going to happen. We had to wait until the formation lap, where all our questions would finally be answered.
And I think that McLaren Toyota, there's the pole sitter Jarno Trulli pouring into the pits, and just listen to the crowd.
And just like that, we're back in the picture. 6 cars, all on Bridgestones, looking like they'd just shown up to the wrong event. Schumacher won, Barrichello followed, and Thiago Monteiro claimed his one and only podium because, well, someone had to. The crowd lost it, booing, throwing things, demanding refunds, and honestly, it's understandable. Still, the universe loves balance. For every weekend that falls apart on its own, there's another where nature shows up and rewrites the script entirely. Belgium 2021, Japan 2007, and of course, Canada 2011. Right from the morning, Montreal was flooded, rain pounding the surface, spray hanging in the air, and groundhogs vanishing like Pennywise was doing recon. With conditions that wild, the FIA had no choice. Start behind the safety car. It was instantly obvious this wasn't going to be a race, this was going to be survival. 5 cautious laps later, the green flag finally waved, and with that, the show.
And behind him, we got a McLaren right up alongside, and he touched. Webber is round. Mark Webber, and that's Lewis Hamilton down to 13th somewhere. And we're watching Mark Webber.
No, that's Sebastian Vettel. It's missed the chicane.
With the tyres finally warming up a little, the old guy decided it was time to attack the new one on the block.
I think in that case, there's no question as we see him. Oh, no, McLaren's touch. That is, well, Lewis Hamilton obviously with suspension damage, puncture.
Boom! Safety car again! Once the pack was released on lap 13, Button picked up a drive-through for speeding under the safety car, dropping him to P15. Up front, Vettel controlled the pace while Alonso and Mercedes gambled on intermediates. Then on lap 19, a brutal rain burst returned, forcing another safety car, and shortly after, suspending the race. I'll say it again, 3 safety cars in 20 laps. Keep count. 2 hours passed, and as the surface began to improve, Pitts shuffled the order again, and Button also shuffled Alonso, keeping the tradition alive that Ferrari just isn't allowed to win here. When the track dried enough, Webber bolted to slicks, triggering a chain reaction. Schumacher surged to 3rd, Massa rejoined the mix, and another safety car appeared after Heinfeld tangled with Kobayashi.
Oh, right.
There's a surprise.
Yeah, thankfully there's plenty of runoff down there.
Everyone figured that would be the end of it. Button kept pushing, sure, but Vettel looked untouchable. Until, on the final lap, he wasn't.
I think Vettel's got wide.
Yeah,
he's got wide.
He turned in too late. He got the tyres. Button leads the Grand Prix.
Button slipped through, rising from dead last to claim the victory after 4 hours, 6 pit stops, and only 1 lap led. The very last one. And somehow, it didn't feel new. It was 2003, and Interlagos also looked soaked to the bones, rivers running across the asphalt. And after just 1 lap behind the safety car, the FIA, being the FIA, still said, yep, totally raceable. Turn 3, Curva do Sol, instantly became the villain of the day. Antonio Pizzonia, gone. Montoya, gone. Button, sent straight into the wall. Even Michael Schumacher spun and slid dangerously close to a crane that was cleaning up the previous crashes. And every lap looked worse. No confidence, just pure survival. The field wasn't racing anymore. They were negotiating with grip and losing badly. Then came the part where the race truly exploded. Mark Webber climbed the hill before the main straight, lost control and smashed into the wall so hard that pieces of his Jaguar went everywhere.
Car off. Is that in the pit straight? It is in the pit straight.
With Alonso showing up seconds later blind from the spray, he drove straight into one of Webber's tyres at full speed. The impact was brutal. His Renault basically disintegrated and he injured his ankle right there. At that point, the track wasn't just unsafe, it was unusable. So they stopped the race. Red flag. Done for the day. But the truly unbelievable part was still waiting in the office, because when they applied the count back 2 laps rule, someone messed up the maths and gave Kimi Räikkönen the win. He even did the full podium routine. Champagne, trophy, the whole ice cool celebration. Except Jordan had the receipts. They proved Giancarlo Fisichella was actually leading 2 laps earlier, meaning he was the real winner. The FIA took days to fix the result, and the solution? A tiny ceremony at Imola where Kimi awkwardly handed the trophy back like, yeah man, this is actually yours. Interlagos didn't just give us physical mess, they put the cherry on top with some paperwork chaos. Cars crashed, ceremonies failed, and the whole thing felt like someone forgot to update the universe. If Brazil showed us how a storm can break the rulebook, Spa 1998 showed how a storm can break the entire grid. Spa has always been the perfect scenario for chaos. However, in 1998, instead of having accidents, the track was decided to cause problems on purpose. As the cars rushed downhill towards Eau Rouge, David Coulthard's McLaren stepped on a drain cover and immediately went to sleep.
Field up and into the wall. Who was that? Coulthard in the wall. David Coulthard into the wall will stop the race.
What followed wasn't a crash. It was a 13-car explosion of misery. The whole thing went into chaos so fast that even the marshals looked confused. Red flag, huge delay. Then came the restart, and it got worse. Mika Häkkinen, usually calm, focused, and basically untouchable in the wet, got tapped by Johnny Herbert.
The outside of Häkkinen is stuck. Spinning Häkkinen.
First lap, restart, gone. But the cherry on top happened on lap 25. Schumacher was driving like he was the only one who could actually see the road. He had a massive lead, insane pace, and was in a league of his own. However, the spray was so heavy that he couldn't see DC ahead slowing on the racing line. And, whoa.
Oh God! Michael Schumacher hits David Coulthard and is out of the Belgian Grand Prix. Maybe he should have been a bit more circumspect about trying to pass him.
He slammed into the back of the McLaren full speed, destroying his front end instantly. And then Schumacher lost it and gave us that famous picture we've all seen nowadays. He stormed into the McLaren garage still wearing his helmet. You could practically feel the rage through the screen.
Look at him, look at him. He's saying, I'm going to the stewards. James, can you enlighten him? He's going to Coulthard. He's going to have it out with David Coulthard.
And the plot twist of the century, Hill and the other Schumacher suddenly found themselves running 1-2.
David Hill wins in Belgium. Schumacher second. What an unbelievable race.
Eddie Jordan partied like he just won the lottery. I think we're seeing a pattern here. It's no surprise that rain is the perfect ingredient for chaos. And the European GP of 2007 was no exception. The Nürburgring always gives us a good show. It all started with this tiny little drizzle on the formation lap. Nothing crazy, just light rain. The kind where you think, yeah, it'll be fine. However, 1 minute later, the sky basically hit the emergency switch and dumped an entire ocean on turn 1. I swear, it happened so fast you think someone toggled a weather mod. Raikkonen on dry tyres went skating and missed the pit lane to change his tyres because of the rain.
So's Massa, so is Alonso.
Oh, he's gone off, Raikkonen's gone off.
Straight on, he's missed it, he's missed the pit lane.
But not even with Wes were you safe. No, because just 1 lap later, cars started sliding into the gravel like it was the world's saddest amusement park.
Button is the first one into the barrier. This is Hamilton with his wheels locked up and just nerves the barrier.
Bring him in and start from the pit lane.
Hamilton was the biggest victim. He went straight off, got stuck in the gravel and had to be lifted out by a crane, while the safety car just drove past him and they red flagged the race. But then came the part nobody expected. Marcus Winkelhock. This man was making his first and only race start in a spiker of all things and decided to start from the pit lane on intermediate tyres. Everyone else was on slicks, but then the sky opened and suddenly he looked like the smartest person on earth. While the front of the field fell apart and boxed in a panic, Winkelhock just stayed out, vibing, and before anyone realised what was happening, he was leading. Not by a little, by 20 seconds in a spiker. Do you understand how chaotic the race had to be to have a spiker leading? Imagine Mazepin leading a GP. Yep, that crazy. Sadly, the dream ended after the restart when his car said, yeah, I'm done, and it stopped working. But his moment at the front, legendary. So yeah, nobody was safe that day. Not the untouchable guys, not the rookies, not the champions. And after all that, you'd think the next race on this list will be a little calmer. But now we're heading to a day almost nobody made it to the finish line. Nowadays, Monaco is just kind of a parade. Pole sitter drives for an hour and a half and wins. No overtakes, no emotion, just 78 laps of pure suffering. But back in the day, man, Monaco couldn't be more intense. And honestly, that race in 1996 might be the most chaotic ever. The second the rain started falling, you could feel anxiety through the TV. The streets were shiny and slippery, cars weren't driving, they were sliding.
Schumacher! Michael Schumacher is out of the Monaco Grand Prix before the first lap has even been completed.
Monaco's already painful on a normal day, but with rain? Yeah, this place turns into a trap where even the best drivers look lost. This show didn't start with one big crash. It was slow. Drivers tapped the wall here, spun there, locked up everywhere. Every lap was risky. Every corner felt like a please don't die moment. One by one, the field just disappeared, dropping like flies. Big names all out. Villeneuve, Schumacher, Hill, all DNF'd. And right in the middle of all this disaster, Olivier Panis, a guy in a Ligier, a midfield car, somehow stayed alive while all the big teams folded. By the end, only him, Coulthard and Herbert crossed the finish line.
Olivier Panis for Ligier Mugen Honda, a wonderful fillip for the French team and their Japanese engine supplier. exits the Rascasse to win the 1996 Monaco Grand Prix. An incredible result.
Those were the last men standing in a race designed to wipe out everyone. That's why people still talk about this moment like it's some F1 urban legend. In the end, what makes these chaotic races so special isn't just the crashes, the failures, or the unpredictable endings. It's the reminder that in a sport built on perfection, it's the imperfections that make history. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to watch this one next. And as always, thank you for watching.